This is the story of when I lost my phone at a park several years ago. It all happened one night when I was running. I would do lots of jogging for exercise, and this one park in particular was my favorite to go to. It was about a 10-minute drive from my apartment, but it had miles of trails, and I found that hardly anybody else was ever there. One time though, when I was jogging, my headphones died when I was almost done. This is probably why I didn't realize I dropped my phone, because my music wasn't on, and I would have noticed it turning off. I would always jog with my phone in my left pocket. It must have just fallen out or something. I was kind of surprised that I didn't notice. When I got home that night is when I realized that I didn't have my phone with me. I realized it could have been anywhere on the trail. I first looked in my car, but when it wasn't there, I drove right back to the park. I retraced my steps and spent about an hour trying to locate my phone, but I couldn't find it. I wasn't sure what to do. I really needed my phone, so the next day I went and I bought a cheap one to use until I either found my phone or decided that I would have to get another one. The next day after work, I went back to the park again. I looked again, but came up empty. I was almost certain by now that somebody must have picked it up. Then, later that night, I was on Facebook. I was on my laptop, just on my homepage, when I came across this post. It had been shared quite a few times, and I saw that somebody had posted they found an iPhone. It looked like mine, so I clicked on the post. This person said that they found an iPhone in a park and were trying to locate the owner. They asked people to share the post in hopes that the owner might see it. The phone was locked, so they said they couldn't find out who it belonged to. Right away, I contacted the person who made the post. It was a guy named Rob. I told him that I was sure this was my phone, and I asked him if I could meet him to get it back. He said yes, and suggested that we meet at the same park where I lost it. I was more than fine with that, but when he said to meet at midnight, I was confused. Of course, that instantly made me curious and also suspicious. I asked him why and said that that was really late. The guy claimed that he worked odd hours and was really busy. He said that that was literally the only time that worked for him. I ended up saying fine, because after all, it was a Friday and I didn't have work the following day. Still, I was very suspicious of Rob. Now, when the time came, I drove to the park that night. In the entrance of the park, there was a parking lot which was empty. Then there was a little bit of a field, several entrances to paths, and lots of woods. So I parked my car at about 11:50. Nobody else was there, so I waited. At midnight, I contacted Rob, saying that I was at the park. This was the only parking lot, so I knew he would have to come here. He did not immediately respond to me. I kept waiting and was getting more and more frustrated by the minute. Then I got a message from Rob. He told me to come to the path and said that he had walked there. This confused me even more, but I really wanted my phone, so I got out of my car and looked around. It was completely silent other than leaves rustling in the wind. I took a few steps towards the path. It was in that moment that I saw what appeared to be two large men coming out of the woods. They were walking in my direction, but a long ways away. By now, I was probably like 50 feet away from my car. As soon as I saw these two guys, I started sprinting back for my vehicle. When I got there, I did not bother to look back to see where the men were. I instantly left, driving away and out of the park. I went all the way back home. When I got back, I went onto Facebook and was going to message Rob. I saw that his previous message had been deleted. I sent him an angry message, accusing him of setting me up, trying to rob me, and I said that I was going to the police. He responded denying it, claiming that he was just running late and would be at the park soon. I called the police. I told them the entire story and showed them the messages on my phone. Then I asked Rob to send me my phone in the mail. He was hesitant and claimed that he couldn't do it. However, the police contacted him after that. After they got involved, he finally gave me my phone back. Unfortunately, there was no proof that Rob got those guys to come towards me in the woods. I believe 100% that he was setting me up to get robbed or something. I blocked him not long after. Hopefully, I'd never see him again. Just a few months ago, I had a terrifying experience that I will never forget. It all started one night when I went on Facebook. As I was browsing the homepage, looking at posts from my friends and stuff, I got a notification of a new message. I clicked on it and saw that it was from a guy named James. I had worked with James a while back briefly. I didn't really know him that well, and had only spoken to him a few times at the job that we shared. I hadn't worked there in over a year though, and I didn't even know if he still worked there. James said hi to me, and I found it a little bit strange for him to randomly message me, but I said hi back to him. We got to talking a little bit, just catching up, or so I thought. But not long into this conversation at all, the messages from James started getting inappropriate. I stopped messaging him at that point, but he continued to send me more messages. It was at that moment that I decided to delete him as a friend. I wasn't even really friends with him in real life. I didn't know what got into him for him to randomly message me and then talk like that, but I figured that I wouldn't hear from him anymore. Several days went by, and I didn't. But then, one night, I was home by myself in my apartment. There was a random knock at my front door at 10 o'clock. I was not expecting anybody. I got up and walked over to the door. Before I opened it though, I decided to check through my peephole to see who was there. I thought maybe it was a neighbor, because who else would it be? But James was standing there. I found this to be really odd. How did he know where I lived? I never told him that. I chose not to answer, but he knocked again. I ignored this too. I honestly figured that he would probably leave after I didn't answer the door. I walked away and didn't hear any more knocking for a while. So I remember that probably 10 minutes later, I got up and went back over to the door. I expected James to be gone, but he wasn't. He was still standing there right outside of my door. And I think that he must have heard me walking to the door from the other side, because right after seeing him, he walked up to the door and tried to open it. The door was locked, so he didn't get in. Then I saw him go to his pocket and take something small out. He then went to the door and I believe started trying to pick the lock. As soon as I saw this, I took out my phone and I called for the police. I told them what was happening. They said they would be there as soon as possible. Then I went into my bedroom and locked the door. In case James broke in, I needed to get away from the front door. The police were fast to arrive. Within probably 5 minutes, they were at my apartment. James had not been able to pick my lock or get inside. I remember hearing them talk to James, and I came out of my room and saw that they arrested James for attempting to break into my apartment. I never really got an answer as to why he did it, or why then. Either way, I'm hoping to never see James again.